This is Module 1, Unit 4, Part 2 of File Management and Digital Electronics. There's a Part 3 following this module. The topics covered are computer file basics, how to manage computer files, how computers represent data. There are several important elements that define a computer file. These elements are important in managing your computer. These include the contents of the file, the software that was used to create it, and the way the computer uses it. There are several categories of files, such as data files, executable files, configuration files, and drivers. Most of the files you create on your computer are data files. Although files can contain different data, there are several key elements that you must consider. They are file name, format, location, size, and date. What is a file name? A file name is a set of letters, symbols, or numbers that identifies a file. A file name consists of a name followed by a period, followed by a file extension. Every saved file has a file name. What are there rules I need to know for naming files? Yes. The file name must follow specific rules called file naming conventions. Each operating system has a unique set of file naming conventions. When you use the Windows operating system, you cannot use the symbols colon, star, or question mark as part of the file name. If you try to save the file using one of the restricted symbols, you will receive a message telling you there is a problem with the file name. When you name a file, you should give it a meaningful name that can help you remember the contents of the file. What is a file extension? A file extension or file name extension is a set of numbers and or a set of letters and or numbers added to the end of a file name following a period that helps to identify the file contents or file type. A file extension helps describe the file contents. For example, the music files you listen to on your portable media player probably have the MP3 file extension. A file extension is separated from the main file name by a period. This is a list of file extensions that are commonly used. You will also recognize that some file extensions are associated with a particular application. As on this list, some of the common file extensions show that. Knowing the file extension can help you identify which application program was used to create the data file. Once you know the file format, you will know which application to use if you want to open the file. A software program can typically open a file that exists in its native file format, set when the file was created, plus several additional file formats. As you work with files, you will begin to recognize that some file extensions, such as TAX for text files and JPG for JPEG graphic files, indicate the file type, such as a document or photograph. How do you decide the file extension? Generally, you do not decide. As a user, you do not decide the extension. The software program assigns an extension to the file automatically when you save it. Some programs give you several options. For example, when you save a graphic, you can decide if you want it to be a JPEG or TIFF or a graphic or any other graphic format. Can you change the file extension? Technically, yes, but you really shouldn't change the file extension because a file extension is usually related to the file format. Sometimes a file extension is changed in error when you try to rename it and rename a file. Be careful to change only the name to the left of the period when you change a file name. If you change a file extension while renaming a file, the file will not be able to be opened. How do I know when to use save or when to use save as? The flowchart, as we see on the slide, can help you decide whether to use the save or save as command. When you try to use save command for a file that has not been saved, the program will open the save as the dialog box even though you selected the save command. What other information is stored with each of my files? The File Properties dialog is a good way to find out information about a file. As you can see on screen, general information such as file size and file date can be helpful as you manage your files. File size is generally measured by bytes, kilobytes, and megabytes. Knowing the size of the file can be important, especially when you are sending a file as an email attachment. Your computer's operating system keeps track of file sizes. Your computer also keeps track of the date on which the file was created or last modified. The file date is useful if you have saved a file using slightly different file names each time, and you want to know which is the most recent. So let's move on to the next learning outcome and describe the file management steps for working with files. To manage files, you use the same file management tools you use to copy, move, rename, and delete a folder. As you work with programs, you will need to open and save files. You can open files while working with an application program or by using the file management program. You can also save files from within an application program like word processor. Do I have to remember all of the information about where my files are stored? No, you don't have to remember the details, but it's helpful to create a system for naming files and folders that is easy for you to use. Although file management programs like File Explorer help you locate your files, knowing the basics, the drive, the folder names, and the file name will help you find your files faster. Most application software provides access to the file management task through the Save As, and Open dialog boxes. The list on this slide, it gives you the additional file management tasks that you will do when working with files and folders. For example, renaming, and then also there's copying and moving and deleting. What is a file tag? Some applications also allow you to add tags to a file. A file tag is a short word or phrase that describes a file. It is useful when you search for a file. Tags appear in the details pane of a file explorer. Add tags using the details tab of the properties dialog box as seen on the screen. For example, tags help you describe the location, camera setting, and subject figure pictured in a photograph. Are there rules and guidelines uh, one should follow when managing files? Yes. The, the following tips will help to manage files. Use descriptive names. Giving your files and folders descriptive names when you save or create them and, can help you avoid we ask for you to avoid using cryptic abbreviations. Maintain file extensions. When renaming a file, keep the original file extension so you can open it in the correct application software. Group similar files and consider using the default folders in Windows, such as Documents, Pictures, Music, and so on. Separate files into folders based on subject matter. For example, store your creative writing assignments in one appropriately named folder and your music files in another appropriately named folder. Do not mix files and program files. That is, do not store data files in the folders that hold your software. On computers running Windows, most software programs are stored in subfolders of the program files folder. Do not store programs or data files in the root directory, which is C drive, of your computer's hard drive. It is better to create folders and store your files in those folders. Beware of storage locations. When you save files, make sure the drive letter and the folder name specify the correct storage location. Organize your folders from the top down. When creating a hierarchy for folders, consider how you want to access and backup files. A backup is a copy of your files made for safekeeping. You should back up your folders regularly. For example, if your files are stored in one folder, such as the Documents folder, then it is easy to back up the folder and all the nested subfolders. If your important data is scattered in a variety of folders, however, making backups is more time consuming. Access files from the hard drive. For best performance, copy files from portable storage media to your computer's hard drive before accessing them. Follow copyright rules. When copying files, make sure you do not violate copyright and license restrictions. And finally, delete and archive files you no longer need. Deleting unneeded files and folders helps you keep your list of files from growing to an unmanageable size. One way to delete a file is to right-click the file name in the File Explorer and then click Delete on the shortcut menu. File archiving utility programs combine a number of files together into one archive file or a series of archive files for long-term storage. So let's go on to learning outcome 5. and describe how digital data representation produces numbers, text, images, video, and sound. Data representation refers to the way in which data is created, stored, processed, output, and transmitted. It is the technology that makes it possible for you to use digital electronic devices such as iPods, GPS devices, mobile phones, and computers. Data representation makes it possible to input, store, process, and display text, numbers, graphics, photos, and play music and videos. Digital data is represented using the binary number system. What is the binary number system? The binary number system makes it possible for computers to represent data simply by using zeros and ones. The zeros and ones are translated into electrical on and off signals that the computer can understand. The decimal number system can be compared with the binary number system. This decimal system is based on 10, uses 10 symbols, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, to represent numbers. The binary system has only 2 digits, 0 and 1. What is a digital data? What is digital data? Digital data is text, numbers, graphics, sound, and video that has been converted into zeros and ones. All digital data is created from zeros and ones. The zeros and ones are electronic signals that represent on and off or yes and no respectively. The computer interprets these electronic signals as data. How does the computer interpret these electronic signals? Electronic signals are coded into series of zeros and ones. Each zero or one has a binary digit or bit. A series of 8 bits is referred to a byte, which represents one piece of data such as letter G or the number 5 or the dot in a picture. Bytes are coded using different coding schemes. Most computer coding schemes use 8 bits to represent each number, letter, or symbol. Digital computers use many different coding schemes to represent data. The coding scheme used by a computer depends on whether the data is numeric or character data. Numeric data includes numbers that might be used in arithmetic operations such as your annual income, your age, or the cost of a dinner. How can my computer process character data? Character data is composed of letters, symbols, and numbers and numerals that will not be used in arithmetic operations. Examples of a character data include your name, address, and telephone number. Character data is represented by coding schemes which use a series of ones and zeros. For example, when you type the word dog, you press the key that represents each letter. And as you press each key, an electronic signal is sent to the processor. The signal is the code for the letter you typed, as you could see on this slide. The most common coding schemes for coding character data is ASCII, ASCII, and Unicode. Unicode is the most flexible and currently provides code for characters from all written languages, including languages such as Chinese, Russian, Hebrew. How can my computer process images such as photos from a camera? Images such as photos, pictures, line art, and graphs are not discrete objects like a number or a letter of the alphabet. The computer must digitize the information that makes it the picture, such as the colors, into ones and zeros. Digitized images are series of colored dots and also called pixels, picture elements. As shown on this slide, each pixel is assigned a binary number based on the color of that pixel. The digital image is simply a list of binary numbers for all of the dots it contains. Each binary number in the list associated with one pixel. The computer interprets the list of numbers to recreate the image. How are digital sound files created? Sounds are continuous analog sound waves. In order for a computer to understand the sound, it must digitize the information that makes up the sound. Sounds such as music and speech is characterized by the properties of a sound wave. An analog sound wave is digitized by sampling it in various points and then converting these points into digital numbers. The more samples your computer takes, the closer the points come to approximating the full wave pattern. The process of sampling, as shown in this on the screen, is how digital recordings such as music files on your computer media player are made. An analog sound wave is a smooth curve of continuous values. To digitize a wave, it is sliced into vertical segments called samples. For purpose of illustration, this is 1 second sound wave was sliced into 30 samples. If you have any questions about part 2, please go into the Have a Question section and send me your question, or either use the inbox in the far left panel and send me a message. This is the end of Module 1, Unit 4, Part 2.